Every career has its ups and downs, but in the world of football, the highs are the soaring stadium cheers, and the lows, well, they're the stuff of tabloid headlines and fan outrage. Today, we're diving into the tales of top football players who finished the previous season with unexpected declines. Whether it's due to shocking transfers, injuries, or off-field controversies, these players experienced dramatic falls from grace. And make sure you stay until the end, because the last one will surely break your heart. Let's kick off with our number 10, Bernardo Silva. Bernardo Silva has been seen as a world-class player since his fantastic season with Monaco in 2016-17. He has been a key player under Guardiola for 7 seasons, which by itself should already cement his name as one of the best players of his generation. But his performances in high-pressure matches this season have left a lot to be desired, and proved to everyone that he will never be anything more than a system player. Sure, he might often get high scores according to his match stats, but anyone who has watched a Bernardo Silva match will tell you he adds very little by himself to a team. He offers stability and will move the ball around, but it was evident during Portugal's matches in the Euros that he has downgraded a lot when it comes to his attacking prowess. Honestly, at this point, if he ends up joining another club, Bernardo will be much better off permanently moving to central midfield, because if he doesn't, I'm 100% certain he'll struggle on his next adventure. Another Portuguese player who somehow got even worse this past season was Joao Felix. Felix had an awful 22-23 season, where he spent half a season as a reject with Los Colchoneros and the other as a misfit in a London sinking ship. He obviously struggled, netting only 9 goals and 3 assists across both stints, but somehow he was still granted a dream move to Barcelona, where he would be able to play the way he always wanted to. After all, that had always been the excuse for his underwhelming showings. He couldn't perform because he wasn't given any freedom by Simeone. Well, what's the excuse now? Joao Felix had a chance to prove his doubters wrong, and he completely failed to do so, only scoring 10 goals in 44 matches. To me, it's pretty clear he'll never be the star he was portrayed to be during his Benfica days. At best, he'll reach the level of Ricardo Quaresma, and I'm being nice. But Felix isn't the only failed prodigy who somehow got worse this past season. Federico Chiesa had an arguably worse downfall, although it's hard to really put the blame on him. Throughout this past season, we've seen flashes of brilliance from the Italian star. Even in the middle of a terrible Italian campaign, Chiesa was one of the few players who showed any interest in defending their Euro title. But while that can be seen as a positive, it's that same mentality that cost Juve points on many occasions. After his harrowing injury, Chiesa appears to be desperate to prove his worth, which tends to force him into a highlight reel mentality. He keeps his head down, runs into opponents, and rarely passes the ball whenever he's close to goal. At this point, there are many doubts about whether he can keep himself fit, while at the same time, many of us are starting to question his decision making and confidence. It's undeniable how injuries can destroy a player's career, no matter how big or promising they were before. Unfortunately, the same is happening to Alejandro Balde. I don't think I saw a bigger decline than that of Alejandro Balde in the previous season. He had been vital to Barcelona's La Liga conquest back in 2023 and showed the board that it was time to let go of their club legend Jordi Alba. That's how big this left back was. But fast forward just a few months and he was already struggling. Balde couldn't assist at the level of a world-class left-back, and to make matters worse, he suffered a hamstring injury that ruled him out until the end of the season. I wouldn't say he's finished, but he will have a tough mountain to climb, especially with the recent rise of other Spanish fullbacks like Cucurella and Grimaldo. Then again, he's not the first youngster Barca has run into the ground with excessive playing time, and he probably won't be the last. The next man on this list, however, can only blame Father Time for his downfall. Robert Lewandowski was a constant at Bayern, always scoring over 40 goals in every season except his first one. Those who remember football during the pandemic days can't possibly forget that Leva was the rightful Ballon d'Or winner that year, but sadly, those days are firmly behind him. His debut season at Barca saw the Polish striker go from 50 goals to 33, which is still a respectable tally. However, in the 23-24 season, Leva experienced another decline in form, going from 33 goals to 26. Although he did score for Poland in the Euros, it was thanks to a penalty kick, and in every other opportunity, it was practically a non-factor. Barca should really consider acquiring a new striker because Lewandowski isn't as efficient as he was in his prime. But whatever route they go, they should really stay away from Randall Kolo Muani. The French forward enjoyed a remarkable campaign with Eintracht Frankfurt, contributing to 38 goals and earning a spot on the French national team, where he famously scored the winner in the semi-final against Morocco. Likely influenced by Mbappe, Kolo Muani decided to leave his former club for PSG, but not without throwing a tantrum first, which completely severed his relationship with Eintracht fans. He probably assumed it would be for the greater good, but after an eventful season where he could only score 9 goals, it's clear that his confidence levels are at an all-time low. With the departure of Mbappe, Enrique will probably give him another chance, but it is, without a shadow of a doubt, his ultimate opportunity to cement himself at the Parc des Princes. Another French player who fooled everyone into thinking he was world-class is Dayot Upamecano. It's undeniable how pacey and strong he is. In fact, I'd go even further and say that he's likely in the top 3 of his position when it comes to those attributes. However, his decision making is getting worse season after season. He had already committed a few mistakes in the 22-23 season, but lately, it looks like those mistakes have become the norm in his playing style. Seriously, I don't know how people mock Harry Maguire when you have this guy playing for the biggest club in Germany. He literally received back-to-back red cards, and so far, that really looks like it was the end of the line for him. The only way I would see him as a starter for Bayern this season would be if Kompany played with 3 center-backs, but looking at the formations he used with Burnley, I assume Upamecano's future is either as an expensive bench player or at a completely different club. The next player is an interesting case, as we've already seen players who downgraded due to injuries, poor mentality and age. But with the rise of the Saudi Pro League, many prodigies are being tempted to throw their careers away in exchange for money. The most ridiculous example is Gabri Veiga. After a breakout season with Celta Vigo and several impressive performances with Spain's under-21s, many fans were eager to see what the future held for the promising Spanish midfielder. So it came as a huge surprise when Veiga decided to move to Saudi Arabia and join Mahrez at Al Ahly. Even Toni Kroos expressed disappointment with his decision. You'd assume a youngster like him would dominate the league, but the reality couldn't be more different. Veiga was only involved in 8 goals all season compared to his total of 15 in La Liga in 22-23. To make it even worse, he suffered an ankle injury in the latter part of his campaign, which put an even greater question mark on his future as a player. And speaking of question marks, let me ask you a question. Would you try to replace Salah in 2024? It's still a controversial topic, considering that Salah is easily among the top 5 wingers in Premier League history. His impact as a Liverpool player cannot be understated, but his performances after his return from injury were clearly below his usual level. He didn't seem confident in his ability to take on defenders, and he didn't seem motivated to excel in his passing. It's really starting to feel like he can't carry Liverpool anymore. While I wouldn't say it's exactly the right time to sell him, if a huge money offer comes Liverpool's way, why shouldn't they take it? Salah is still a world-class player, but he's already 32, and what I just told you will only become more apparent in the near future. But in my opinion, there's no downgrade as pressing as that of Cristiano Ronaldo. We had our doubts when he was getting benched at Old Trafford. Ten Hag hasn't had much success without him either, which made his Piers Morgan interview age better than most fans expected at the time. And even though he had an underwhelming World Cup where he was also benched, Cristiano made a triumphant comeback by finishing the Euro qualifying as the second best goal scorer. To cap it all off, he finally had a season with numbers that could rival his days at Real Madrid. Except, those numbers are subjective to their context. Ronaldo showed some last glimpses of brilliance against C and D level national teams and reached a whopping tally of 50 goals in 51 matches with Al Nassr, mostly because the intensity and focus of the defenders in Saudi Arabia isn't anywhere near the level of the European elite. When it was time for the real test in Euro 2024, Ronaldo proved that he doesn't have the intensity to compete at the highest level anymore. He doesn't press defenders, he barely participates in attacking play, and just stands there hoping for a good cross. Even his finishing, his greatest attribute, has declined quite a bit, as Ronaldo finished the tournament with the highest expected goals, but without a single goal to his name. It's sad, but it looks like the curtain is closing on him. And that is it for the video. What other players would you include in this list? Drop their names in the comments and don't forget to subscribe to Turn FC for the best football content from all around the world. Thanks for watching until the end. I appreciate you, and I will see you on the next one.